Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ken's Show and Tell. This is the 8th video documenting the recommissioning of this 1959 Mercedes Benz 220S chassis W180 Ponton. Today we're going to be focusing on this little rascal down here, and it's a very important component. Has to do with the steering. Move this out of the way. And there it is. This flex disc on the steering column. And I'll show you why I'm replacing it. Look at this. This is a piece of it that's fallen off. It's as hard as a rock. And when you turn it around, you see the strings here are visible that makes up. It's embedded in the rubber. Turn it around. You see it moving here. There's more pieces of it. Oh yeah, see that one right there is about to come off? See? And it just gets worse. And now this one right here, see it moving in there? See these pieces right here? Flex. This looks like a ground wire right here embedded in that. So this is new to me, another new project. This has been soaking. You can see it moving maybe even better now. I've had it soaking oh yeah, see how this is really moving. You don't want to go down the road driving like that, do you? I'm almost 100% sure this is original to the car, and this is a very new task for me, like most of the tasks so far on this car, and I'm going to be learning as I do the work. So I've been putting Kroll oil and PB Blaster on this daily, sometimes twice daily. Oh, going on 2 weeks now, and I have gotten this loose right here. Well, I've drained this much out, about 2.5 gallons worth, looks like. I swear, the color and the feel of it doesn't look like 50-50 to me. Looks like straight antifreeze. Well, maybe it's been a good thing, considering this car has been sitting up for 10, 15, 20 years. So maybe it saved the inside of this engine, the water passages and stuff. Well, I'll discover that later in another segment, another video, when it comes to looking at the cooling and the heating system on this car. And it's drained down enough to where it's quit coming out of this bunghole for the water for the engine temperature gauge. I feel very fortunate that this thing came out as easily as it did. Now, I did soak the outside with PB Blaster and Kroll for several days before I attempted this, because I know how fragile these things are. But this is going to be another investigation, that thing there. Alright, one thing at a time, otherwise you just get overwhelmed and confused. Talk about little victories. A cotter pin removed. Look at that rascal. Came right out of here. Of course, you know how to remove a cotter pin, but man, it's tiny and rusty and trying to find it. Working on the second cotter pin, I've got the head of it located. It has to go through this little castle, and you can't see it hardly because of the rust, but here's closely snipped displayed ends. So I'll have to kind of try to grab those things and squeeze them and pull this thing through. I think this is originals of the car. I mean, these things last a long time. I got all the cotter pins out, and what I'm going to do is take the nut ends off of these bolts first. Lots of PB Blaster, and I have okay, it broke loose. I'm going to take this completely out. I have to remember that I have to, oh, now that other end of the bolt's turning. All right, let me see if I can hold it in place here and get this out with my hands. I can. That is absolutely amazing. That PV Blaster really does work. And the Kroll. All right, so I don't know what this looks like. Okay, so there's a nut, a castle nut off of that, and the bolt. I'm going to leave it on there like that so I can remember the orientation. Let me roll it around to the other nut out this way because I know I've got that cotter pin all the way out. Let's see how that goes. Alright. Roll it around like this. Okay. Let's put this on here, the top of the spline. Okay. And then let's see. There we go. Here it goes. It's coming loose. My solution, I put in the vice grips on the steering shaft to counter the movement is really working out well. This one's not letting loose as easy, but you know, it's coming loose. Disc. Oh, look at that! I can get this done. I can get this with my hand now. Alright. There it is. This is just part of that disc that came apart. This looks like I'll have to study that. It looks like a ground wire, maybe for the horn. Try a different strategy on this one. Got the vice grips on the nut because it's over here and it's harder to reach. And we'll grab, there's not enough room to put the round part, the box end part, but we can put the open end on here. Okay. Oh, all right. I'm gonna loosen this. What I want to do really is I want to get that nut off. See if I can spin the nut by hand. I can. And here it comes off. All right. You know, that's only half. Wow. There it is. Ancient castle nut. I've got to show you why that cotter pin was almost impossible to get out. Look, it's put in backwards. At least from my perspective. Here's the round part, and then it goes through and was splayed on the outside. So I stuck an ice pick in there and pulled it out, and there it is. So I think I can grab it with a pair of needle nose and get the rest of it out, and then this nut should come off. Jesus, who would have thought? Hurrah! The last bolt out, nut out, and all the bolts are in place. Got the nuts. Now I just have to figure out. I've gotten this loose here, this clamp, and just see how this thing comes apart very carefully. And let me get the new part out, and we'll do a little studying here. Here are the new pieces I obtained from Authentic Classics. They seem to have a lot of nice parts made in Germany for the Ponton series cars. And I've learned that many of these parts are interchangeable with the 190 SL series and the 300 SL series. So Pontons and the 190 and 300 SL shared many little parts, which sometimes makes these little parts expensive. Although this wasn't bad, you know, given I'm going to get my steering back, and this was relatively safe. I think this was like, I don't know, $50 or something like that. This, what looks like a ground, it was rusted to this thing. So you have to very carefully separate the two, and then this comes on out. This little wing piece sits back here, and it's looks like it, yeah, because see right here is a solid piece attached to the shaft right here. It has two wings on it, but there has to be something else for this solid piece to bolt into, and it's this piece right here. Let's see if I can get it fill out. There we go. Push it back up in here, and it kind of, there. It's that really odd shaped piece. And I see why it's shaped that way, because it goes like that. So another note as to how that goes, I've taken pictures of this, and the video will help too if I get into trouble. Another reason to video your work. Alright, that'll go get cleaned up. Because I don't completely understand how this is coming apart, and I don't want to lose my orientation in terms of my steering wheel pointing straight, or at least pointing where it is now. I don't want to change orientation. I've marked this shaft here and this shaft here. Further into the dismantling, see how dry that bolt is right there? I just put PB Blaster on the outside. It wouldn't turn at all, so I had to drive it through gently with a hammer, and now I can get it out. So this should be the last one, so I can turn it with my hand, with my fingers, so I should be able to get that out, and then we'll see what we've got here. New compared to old. Good thing I marked these areas here, because see how they've kind of fallen apart. Look, looks like there's a wire in between there, right here. I'm wondering if could that be the horn wire. So that has to come out in order to put that new flex disc in there. Now, just because I don't know what I'm doing, is this is a sheath that contains wire for the horn. All that just for the horn. It comes out the bottom of the steering box right down in here and connects right here. So I've got this part disconnected. Here's the wire coming up right here, and I've got PB Blaster on this to get that loose for the horn. After disconnecting the horn wires from here and here, I commenced to pull the wire, which is way down in here. Here's the end. I cut the ends off so it'd be easy to go through because it's really tight. Into the other end, way down here, my finger wiggling, where the end of the steering box is. It goes into the tube here, and then out here. Now, in order to get this big space where I could get needed space for flexibility to pull this all the way up that far, this is what I've done. Once you undo that flexible disc on the column, which separates the steering column from the steering box, you can pull this column up pretty far. It will stop on its own, and that gives you more wiggle room down there to play with the wire. And that is the much needed wiggle room I'm talking about. So I'm going to commence pulling the wire up through the bottom there, bottom of the box. Through there is not a whole lot to pull. The wire is pulled through the new disc, going into the steering box, coming out the bottom here and up. And here's my pulling wire right here, and then there'll be reattached to the horn. I just have to put new connectors on here because the connectors themselves wouldn't fit through there. That's easy to do. Put new ones on, and there you go. So and good thing I marked all those where they were lined up and all that. So that should go back in there okay. So let's see. The wires pulled through as planned. Reconnected with new connectors right here, here, and this one right here. New flexible disc on the steering shaft. Everything lines up. And as an added bonus, although it is a necessity, I really wouldn't call it a bonus, but it sure feels good when things turn out. Steering wheel is perfectly aligned, and so are the front wheels. Yes, another successful step in getting this car back on the road, and a very important one, and one that I was dreading. All right, thank you for watching Ken's Show and Tell.